everyone. Scott Hanson here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Rush Nation, here we are, final pod of the week. I've just come off the Patreon cast where I record a really in-depth strategy pod every couple of weeks for the Patreons, talking about how you can win your league, some really advanced analytics and stats to really talk about how we can dive in and find opportunities for roles, what roles we value, which handcuffs to pick up, who are potentially really good buy low and sell high candidates. And so I'm going to do some of that in this show, but I would urge all of you to join our Patreon. You can join for as little as just $1 a month, which is nothing, and get access to the Patreon cast. So make the most of that. Head over to patreon.com/5 Yard Rush and make the most of this. This is going to be a really short and breezy pod just to give you some buy lows and sell low and sell high candidates. What I will also say, and I'll preface this, is I've literally just got the notification now that Nico Collins is coming off IR and he will play this weekend. Well, he's still technically to be determined, but it looks like he's going to return this weekend. But he's coming off IR. So that's a really good sign, and that's going to be one of my sell highs this week. So let's start with the players that we should buy first. I'm going to start with Rome Odunze. So I still think Jim Moore is potentially a play this week. If he is not a play this week, as in he doesn't perform, and it all goes to Rome Odunze, I think the window closes really quickly. So I think you can spin the narrative of it's not all there for Odunze just yet because he's only scored 23.4 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks, which is a nice average, but it's not elite performance. But he is getting more targets per route run. He is getting more targets. He's getting more volume. He's getting a huge air dot, 20.8 yards per reception last week. I mean, it's massive. He's also got a really good schedule coming in. So I think that the buy low window on Rome Odunze is going to shut very, very, very quickly. I'll be making these offers this weekend as much as you can. Another player I'm really interested in is Jameson Williams. The Lions have a really tough schedule coming in, and therefore, if they're going to want to finish as the 1 seed, they're going to need a player who's going to take the top off, and this is something that Jameson Williams does better than anyone. For me, he is a solid top 24 play every week. I do think he's got that unique, really high ceiling of putting in a good performance every week. So he is a player I'm looking at rest of the season and thinking about how can I turn losses into victories. Who are those high ceiling players? Jameson Williams fits that bill. I'm also really intrigued in Jake Ferguson as well. He's another player I'm really intrigued to buy. Given what's going on in Dallas, they're going to need to get Cooper Rush a safe target, and I think you've got a really good one there. His volume is going to go up, and so as a result there, I really think that Jake Ferguson is a top 5 tight end rest of the season. I also want to see if I can try and buy some CeeDee Lamb. I know that there is an issue now with his shoulder. He might not play this week. I haven't put him in my rankings this week, but I actually think if you can get hold of CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Rush is not going to be as bad as people think he's going to be. So it's a player that I'm really interested in, and he's going to be force-fed shed ton of targets. We've seen this before. I talked about this on the show with the Fantasy Wildcard boys on Monday, so do check them out and check that show out to talk about that in a bit more detail. Also big on Amari Cooper. Yes, hasn't seen much this week, but it's really going to be a good end of season to him. They've traded for him for a reason. They're going to be in a lot of close games down the stretch, and they're going to rely on big playmakers. And that's why Amari Cooper, especially Keon Coleman, is now out injured. He's not going to play this week. Amari Cooper, to me, is a really, really good target to acquire. Yes, you are targeting a player with a bye week still to come, which is a bit frustrating, but he's a player I would definitely be looking to try and pick up. And really, I think you'll get the best out of him. I'm also really intrigued in buying Kenneth Walker. The schedule is pretty good for him coming in, but also that his fantasy stat lines are a bit false. He had a huge amount of yards lost to botched snaps over the last couple of weeks. I think it's close to 50 yards. It's somewhere north of 40. It's ridiculous. And that's kind of hiding some of those fantasy numbers in there that are being taken away from him. And then I'm also interested in Jauan Jennings. He's a player I definitely think is going to get more work, but I really think the jewels of the crown are going to be these next three players. Tyrone Tracy, I think, is going to be huge. I think he's got a really good schedule coming in. He's actually going to be someone who's going to be really valuable. They're going to use him. Devin Singletary is not a thing anymore. So I think you're going to get a really good opportunity to bank some points, especially as he's got Carolina this week. If you can get a trade done before Sunday, that'll be really good. Breece Hall, I think, is someone who is underachieving. I talked on the Patreon cast that his expected fantasy points and his actual fantasy points aren't quite aligning, and that will regress back to the mean. And I actually think it's something that is coming his way. That role is highly valuable. So I'm really intrigued in buying Breece Hall. I think he's going to be an RB1 the rest of the way. The last player I'm interested in buying is Mike Evans. Mike Evans is going to be out for 2 more weeks. At least he's going to be out this week, and there's the bye next week. We assume he will come back after the bye. His schedule coming in is easily attainable for him to reach that 1,000 yards, and they're going to force feed the targets to keep that record going, especially with no Chris Godwin. So I actually think if you can get somebody who is on the cusp of not making the playoffs and you are a contender and you can buy Mike Evans, now is a good time to go and do that. I think down the stretch he is a league winner to try and make that move. Players I'm selling: Jackson Smith and Jigba. All day long, he's got an artificially high expected fantasy points rate. He's 7th in all offensive flex players, which is just stupid. He's benefited from injuries all season. He had a huge week last week. It's not going to be that good again. You can sell him and fade him as quickly as possible. Tank Dell, I've already mentioned the fact that Nico Collins is designated to return from IR. It's going to get better for Tank Dell. It's going to get better for Nico Collins. It's not going to get any better for Tank Dell. Tank Dell is a player I'd be looking to ship out absolutely everywhere if I can. He's going back to being a low-end wide receiver 2, maybe even lower than that. So he's a player I'd be looking to get out of pretty quickly. And then for me, J.K. Dobbins, I'd be looking to try and flip him. I'm worried about the touch rate. I'm worried about how many touches he has had as a player. I'd be looking to get out of the J.K. Dobbins business fairly quickly. I'm worried there's an injury down the road that is coming, and I don't like to sort of prophesize injuries. I've unfortunately done that in the past, but this is one I am concerned about. And I think if I can get a Tyrone Tracy and Mike Evans for J.K. Dobbins, that's a deal I'd be looking to do. That nice 2-for-1, get some additional fantasy points into my lineup and find a way to do that. Another one I'd be looking to ship, maybe is DeAndre Hopkins. I think he actually has a decent fantasy schedule for the fantasy playoffs, but the rest of the regular season is pretty horrific. So I want to get out of that business as quickly as possible. It's another player I'd be looking to ship. And is Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts' rest of the season schedule is horrific, and I can't see where the high ceiling play is going to occur for him. So he is another player. It's going to be a hard one to ship Kyle Pitts, but if you can find an alternative value there, I'd be looking to get in on that, because I think there's plenty of opportunity here to make the most of that and to find situations where a team might want to buy the name and buy off a high propensity offense, but the tight end fantasy point schedule for him is pretty rough. It's pretty rough the rest of the way. So there's a player I'm looking to get out on pretty quickly. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for all the watches, everything. Please do us a favor. Can you like? Can you subscribe? Can you write some comments? Can you help us build the reach? We're out here putting a lot of work into this. It's been a good lot of fun over the last 10 weeks. We've still got 8 weeks to go after this one. So I'm looking forward to helping you win as many ships as possible. Back next week, we'll bring some more content. We're getting into the heart of November now, and meaningful fantasy football and meaningful football. So stay tuned for everything we've got coming on 5 Yard Rush, and we're looking forward to bringing more for you. But until then, Rush Nation, have a fabulous weekend. Good luck in week 10. And don't forget, as always, keep rushing.